are back right here on the Morning Scramble. With us in the studio, Andrea Goeglein, Maren Showkeir, and Jamie Showkeir. Welcome. You are co-authors of the book Yoga, Wisdom at Work. Thank you for being here. Andrea, we know you as Dr. Success, Positive Psychology.
Absolutely.
So it does not really confuse me at all that you and this book met.
Yes, yes.
It's just like a magnet, I'm sure.
Well, it's one of those things, you know, in my work, as you well know, the hardest thing to get people to believe is that if they become aware of themselves and take time for themselves, they will actually perform at higher levels on all of their goals in all the areas of their life. And a book like Yoga Wisdom Goes to Work is a perfect example, because they're not showing you what poses to do, they're having conversations with you and showing you examples of when you follow this philosophy, it can impact how you deal with other people.
There are many books about yoga on the market today, poses primarily.
Right.
So when you're doing Yoga Wisdom at Work, you are telling us that the importance of the book is how we can incorporate the wisdom into our life.
That's true. There's about 2 million people who practice yoga in the United States, physical practice, and many of them are unaware of this rich philosophy, foundational wisdom that accompanies yoga. Among the things I really love about it is it's not about finding and fixing your flaws. It's about recognizing that you have come into this world with the divine light and vast, limitless potential, and then yoga helps you develop practices to bring that forth and making work more meaningful and helping you make a better contribution to the world.
When you say practices, are we then just bouncing to the, are we talking poses when we say practices? Is it the physical poses or the psychological feel of it?
Well, there's definitely the physical practice, and I don't want to discount that because it's really rich and beneficial. We're talking more about other practices. For instance, yoga provides a moral code, a personal code of conduct. One of them is purity, for instance. So there's lots of applications for that. You can be pure cleanliness, pure in the way you eat and the foods you take into your body. We write about a woman who she developed a practice around purity by having a ritual of emptying the garbage in her head before she went into work, because it was a really difficult, stressful environment.
Oh, I could use that one. We walk in the door and we're just loaded down. It's the night before, the day before, what I didn't get done, what I have to do. Jamie, talk to me about the inspiration and the decision to do this book.
Well, for me, it goes back to the 70s. I started a meditation practice in the 70s, and at that time, I didn't even realize that meditation was one of the aspects of yoga. And
you were just meditating.
I was meditating. I was a Beatles fan, and the Beatles were doing it so well. But the work evolved from the perspective of, I have a consulting business, and the consulting business is based on a lot of these principles, even though I didn't realize that they were part of the body of work of yoga. Maren and I met in 2005, and she was studying to be a yoga teacher. And she got me into yoga, and I got her into the business and promised her a raise if she married me, and she married me, and I didn't deliver on the promise. But nevertheless,
somehow we knew that.
Right. And this book and this body of work is very tightly woven in the organizational development, leadership development, and consulting that we do, because that all comes from the perspective of, as Andrea said, taking care of yourself first in order that you can manifest what you want to be in the world and help other people become what they want to be in the world. And that's what leadership's all about.
And you make home where now?
Phoenix.
In Phoenix.
Okay. Andrea, in meeting Maren and Jamie, like I said, it was just like a natural gravitation there.
And actually, they came with their first book to one of the Prescott Professional Women's Conference, and with their, I believe it was in '08.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And because we do share the organizational consulting, and that's why this book was so important to me, was that I know their background and I know how they're taking these philosophies and helping people in the workplace to that premise of looking at your strengths instead of your weaknesses is core to this work, and it's core to positive psychology. That was one of the main shifts. So that's where the alignment comes in.
And I think before we became so aware of what we're talking about right now, let's say mid-century, taking care of yourself was considered selfish.
Oh, absolutely.
Till we realized that if you didn't, you couldn't take care of anyone else. I'm simplifying it here right now.
No, that's
right on. Absolutely. And that's what yoga really is all about. You start with self and you work from the inside out. And it's like uncovering what you already have. Your internal wisdom is there. Yoga is a practice of bringing forth that wisdom to help you create more meaning in your life, make better contributions, all of that. And what this book especially does is let people know that there's more to yoga than just doing a downward dog on your mat. Again, I don't want to discount that.
No, because
that's what brought me to yoga.
That's very beneficial physically.
Absolutely.
And emotionally. Yeah, great.
But there are many other practices. You probably do yoga without even knowing it, because there's so many aspects to yoga where you can develop practices and that have nothing to do with the physical part. They have to do with just really practical things. Breathing is even
every time anybody mentions breathing on the show, I find myself I do it for 2 times. I do it correctly, and then I'm back to the...
Yeah, it's really powerful.
One of the things that appeals to me about the yoga aspect at work is, for instance, there's one of the limbs has a precept associated with it called ahimsa, which is nonviolence. And the notion of how everybody sees violence as a physical act towards another. But there are many, many ways in the workplace where we do violence to each other. If I defame your character and reputation and talk about you when you're not in the room to them in a negative way, that's a form of violence. And so if I truly...
Forrest, I will never talk about you when you're not in the room again.
There you go.
Say nice things.
So and the idea behind yoga for me is to say that it helps one get clear about their intentions in life and who they want to be. And then it also helps further a practice. So if I want to be nonviolent towards others, what are things I need to do that are physical practices so that I don't talk about you when you're not in the room? And it may just be when I have a tendency to want to do that, to take a deep breath and say, no, that's not the person I want to be, and move off of that and on to something else. But it's raising a level of consciousness in terms of the way you participate at work.
Well, we all know that we live in a very volatile situation in our society and world today, not only our nation, but our world.
Oh, yeah.
And I find I've been using a new word for myself, is trying to diffuse the situation. I'm trying to diffuse myself. Don't watch the news. But I'm trying to calm my inner person.
Right.
Is that some of what we're saying here?
Very much so. We spend a lot of time in this society training our bodies physically. We spend a lot of time developing our minds intellectually through education. But in this society, we don't spend a lot of time training our mind in terms of learning to focus, learning to let go, learning to reflect and go inward instead of being bombarded all the time by sensation. So there's a practice called pratyahara, which is about withdrawing your senses inward, which is a way of becoming more self-aware. It's a way of being reflective, again, about who you want to be, clarifying your intentions. And it's okay to drop out from the world now and then to get that centering and grounding.
Eastern philosophy has always been centered on more of this than the Western society, don't you think?
Yes.
With in regards to your diffusing issues and situations, the notion of yoga also has to do with the individual and their connection to the whole of society, the whole of the world, the whole of the organization, the whole of your family. And so it's not just developing yourself in the absence of a connection, it's actually in connection you develop yourself. So the diffusal aspect of some of the violence and other kinds of things that are going on in the world, being able to help do that diffusing is aided by the practice of yoga.
So we're saying the world around us can really sense this, and we can be advantageous to the situation.
Absolutely.
Positive psychology, yes. Where can we find the book first, so we make sure?
It's all over the place, on
Anywhere,
Amazon
in
and
bookstores.
bookstores, on our website, at our publisher's website, Barrett Kohler Publishers in San Francisco.
Excellent. And you're using the book, obviously, in your...
I do. It's one of the encouraging ways to get people, because I assign it to their goal achievement, and that's all they care about.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
Thank you
Thank you for
so
having us.
much.